Roll up. The Carnival is coming to town.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Wrestle Carnival's Beyond the Canvas. I'm the host, Kurt Johansson, and more importantly, joining me today is the first announced competitor for the Ringmasters Challenge. It's Kanji. Kanji, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm honoured.
Now, really excited, and I think the whole of Twitter was excited when the news was revealed that you're making your return from injury, which we'll get into later, but you're going to be part of Wrestle Carnival and seeing if you can get that title of Ringmaster.
Yeah. I was so shocked when I was the first one announced, actually. It was a lot. It was quite heavy for me, because it was almost the first thing. It was the first booking, actually, I've taken since injury. I was quite pushing back everybody because I wasn't sure when I was ready. But I think by that time, I'm definitely going to be ready.
Yeah, really excited. And again, like whether it was fans or peers alike, everybody was just getting so excited that Kanji's going to be back in British wrestling. And we did put out there to some of the fans and on Twitter of what would you like to ask Kanji, and a lot of it was about your upbringing. And I'll get the questions here. We had one from Manoj Papadom. He put, tell us about those first few training sessions you had and what was your family's reaction. So to complement that, at the Landarian, he put, I would love Kanji to talk a bit about her upbringing and how her family and faith helped form her tremendous character and strong will. So let's talk a bit about your upbringing and your transition of when you said to your family, hey, I want to be a professional wrestler.
So I was brought up in a multicultural family because my mum's side are Christians. So when I was younger, growing up, I went to a Catholic school. I went to church every Sunday. But my dad and my dad's side of the family are Hindus. So when I used to stay at my grandparents' house, every morning with my granddad, we used to pray to the Hindu shrine there. So we kind of had the best of both worlds there. And there was no conflict between the two. There was no arguments whether I should be doing more Christian stuff or Hindu stuff. We celebrated both.
Yeah.
So that was always nice and peaceful there. But my dad's side were really into wrestling. My great grandma used to watch it and used to be really into it. My granddad was really into it, and my dad was really into it. So we kind of, me, my siblings, and my cousins used to always watch it at my grandparents' house growing up. And that kind of really, really got me into it. So I've got so many memories of watching wrestling at my grandparents' house with my siblings and my cousins. And from there, we used to just play around, play wrestling. They say you shouldn't do this at home, but I think everybody did, really.
We all did.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it started, the love for wrestling. And then it wasn't till I was probably I was 19 when I realized that you could actually go out and train to be a wrestler professionally. Because I was watching Total Divas, and that's when I realized we heard the story about Paige. So I was like, gosh, you can actually go and do this. And that's when I Googled wrestling schools near me, and I found their House of Pain. So straight away I messaged Styx, the head trainer, and asked if I could come and join. At the time I was at uni, so I had to wait. I wanted to wait till I finished uni, so I could really concentrate on uni first. And then as soon as I finished, I got straight there into training. I attended an open day, and I just got my mum to drop me off outside the school, and I just went in on my own. I walked in and saw saw the wrestling ring for the first time in front of me, and I was amazed how close I was to an actual wrestling ring. Like, that was crazy for me. It was insane. And yeah, I've never looked back since. I've been to training every week.
What was your, so you mentioned, especially on your dad's side, then all wrestling fans, like what was their reaction and your siblings' reaction when you've actually taken that leap of faith and thought, right, I'm going to go do it?
They kind of, their impression was almost like they thought it was funny. Because I think by the time I'd taken that step to do it, they've all grown up now.
Yeah.
So they'd stopped watching wrestling. I think they stopped watching it from maybe the age of 14, 15. So they've grown up without wrestling being adults, really. So I think when I stepped forward and said, yeah, I'm training, I want to do this. Whereas before it was always a dream to us. I think they kind of found it funny, like almost I was joking.
Yeah.
But they came to my first match and they loved it. It was so cool to have them all there. They filled up like two rows of the audience, which was awesome. So they're so supportive, and they always ask me about it now. My grandma and granddad, they absolutely love it. I have to send them my matches so they can watch them on YouTube. They love it. And even now when I go to my granddad's house, my grandma will put it on the TV, stream it to the TV, and we'll sit there. My granddad will criticize the things I do. So he'll tell me off. He'll be like, oh, you're taking too long. Why are you climbing to the top? You're taking too long. And just things like that. He'll really tell me off. It's so funny. I love it. Just to have those type of moments with him.
Yeah, that must be quite surreal, but still so wholesome as well. The fact that the reason you're probably in professional wrestling is because of that relationship with your granddad watching wrestling, and here you are now still watching wrestling, but it's watching yourself and his critique, and that is amazing. What was the training like then? So obviously it's one thing to think I can do that. That looks quite soft, but then when you take that first, not so much. Like, what was that like for you?
It was really tough. I remember when I first got in the ring, all we had to do was a forward roll. And I could do rolls fine. I was happy with my roll. And then it was a shoulder roll. And I don't know, I can't do this. I'm going to land on my head. So it was just taking those slow steps just to do a shoulder roll. And it's like now when I think back, I was nervous to do a shoulder roll. Now I'm doing a moonsault off the top rope. Like, it's crazy to think how far I've come. But yeah, the first bump I took, because we used to practice taking them on crash mats just to be safe. So when I was comfortable enough to do it without the crash mat, I remember I bumped and I just lied on the floor for a few seconds, just let it sink in. Like, that impact was so tough. And I only took one bump that lesson, and for the whole rest of the week it felt like I had a headache. So I knew this is going to take some use to doing, but never once did I think I can't do this. I was so excited to go back to the next lesson.
Oh, good. And again, earlier on you mentioned that debut, you've sought out the first two rows and all your family are there. So how long had you been training until you had that debut?
Just under a year, which I surprised myself, really. I didn't think I was ready, but I think I was just a bit, I don't think I was very confident in myself at that time anyway. But yeah, it was just, I had an open day at the end of December, and then I started lessons in January, and it was freezing. So everyone was telling me I was crazy for going because it was so cold, like your feet and your hands were frozen. And I continued to go every week. And then I debuted in the December that year.
Oh, wow. So it was that year-long journey.
Yeah.
So what was been your inspirations, especially like who is it that you idolized growing up, and when you was trying to create your character and create yourself. Like, what was your inspirations in that?
My inspiration growing up, the person who I always had my eye on and loved watching through everything was Shawn Michaels. He was just the one that I couldn't take my eyes off. Whether he was wrestling, whether he was cutting a promo, or whether he was just ringside, anything. I just loved him, everything he did. So he was the one that I used to always play as Shawn Michaels when we was wrestling at home or on the trampoline. It was always his music I had making my entrance through the living room door. It was always him.
So that's something we need to get up on social media, is you doing that entrance to Shawn Michaels music now.
Oh my gosh, I really wish we recorded some stuff, but we never did. I think it's because we wasn't allowed to do it, so we wasn't allowed to hold evidence that we were doing it. So we never filmed it. We just lived in the moment while we could.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shawn Michaels was the one, and he still is. I still continuously watch his matches back, even his early stuff before I was born, just to almost study him, really, because I think he's fantastic. And then when it got to a point where I had to think about my own character, and my own style and strategy, that was the time when I was a huge fan of Becky Lynch. Still am. But when it was my time, when I was really, really had to think of who I am and who I want to be and who I see myself as, Becky Lynch was one of the wrestlers that really stood out for me, just because she seemed like she wasn't trying to be a woman wrestler, if you know what I mean. Just the fire she had and how she characterized her anger and she portrayed her anger in the ring. It really made me feel like I want to be able to feel that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So just watching that and watching her, that's kind of who I was drawn to be like in the ring. And I think that's where I get my fire from, when I'm in the ring and I'm shouting and screaming. I'm not thinking about what I look like, I'm just thinking about this is how I feel, and this raw power.
So what can people expect? Like, it's that first Wrestle Carnival show. We'll get into it later, but you're going to be in that main event spot.
Yeah.
Like, what can they expect when they see Kanji in the ring?
I hope they will see freshness. I don't want to come back, because it's not just a break for me. It's not that I've just had a long break. Everybody has. So with it being the first show back for probably a lot of us, I think, or at least one of the first shows back, especially first show back of the year, 2021. I just want to bring just be fresh, be new, but give them a good show. I think fresh is just the best word for it, really. But obviously it's main event, which is obviously there's huge expectations for us, and whoever I'm up against, I think will definitely put on a great show. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to kill it, and especially for you, not only have you been out of action because of COVID and no shows have been happening in the UK. 2019, I think it had been around, was it September, October time with OTT?
Oh yeah, October, that was it. Yeah.
So in October, for OTT in Ireland against the legendary Emi Sakura, you'd broken your arm. Like, talk us through that. Like, what had happened in that, and how was the recovery been for you?
So during the match, I went for a top rope disaster kick, and I just landed really funny on my arm, and it just snapped straight in half. And I heard it snap, which was the worst thing. So I was holding it together and I could feel the bone poking into my hand. So I knew like this is dangerous.
Yeah.
But in my mind, the thing to stop the match, it wasn't there. I think if you weren't in a match, if you were just outside and you broke your leg, the first instinct is to call an ambulance or get help. Whereas my first instinct was finish the match and then there'll be a medic waiting for you. That was it. That was the procedure in my head.
Yeah.
So I told the ref I've broken my arm, and then I told Emmy that I'd hurt myself. I don't know why I didn't tell her I'd broken my arm. I just wasn't thinking. Just told her I've hurt myself. So we ended up finishing the match differently to how it should have been, but we finished the match, and I got straight backstage, and the medic was there. They got me straight to the hospital, and I got casted up, and then my stepdad came and picked me up on the ferry to bring me home the next day, which was amazing. And then 2 days later, I had the operation, and I had a six screw plate in one bone, and on the other side, I had a 7 screw plate. And then I came home the next day after the operation. It was really tough at the beginning because I really didn't know if at all I'd recover enough to get back into the ring. I think I just had such a negative mindset that it was over, and I kept telling myself questions that stuff like, am I ever going to get signed, or who's going to want to wrestle me now because I'm injury prone, or no one's going to want to hurt me, things like that. I wasn't in a very good place at all. And I didn't have any feeling in my thumb, and that was a huge worry for me. I couldn't bend my thumb, I couldn't feel it. So I thought that was it. I've lost the thumb as well. But slowly and steady, my arm started to feel back to normal as it slowly started recovering. I still struggle to sleep sometimes because it gets really painful sometimes. If I've overdone it in the day, and I still haven't got full flexibility of my wrist. But I'm still in touch with physio, and they think it's really positive how far I've come so far and quickly.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So, and they were pushing me to get back in the ring. They wanted me to get back in the ring before I did. So I have been wise and clever with my recovery. I've not rushed into anything. I have taken advice from the best. So I'm not being stupid with me going back to the ring and bumping already. I am taking it steady. But I have to be realistic, but optimistic at the same time. And I think I am doing that. Yeah.
No, it's good that you've got back into like the positive like frame of mind. We've seen so many people where they do overcome injury and they do get signed, and we'll get into those goals a little bit later. But if there was anything good to take from it, I guess if there was a better time to get injured, it would be to be recovering this year, I guess, with wrestling being non-existent, especially here in the UK. So hopefully, as it's perfect timing, as wrestling's returning, Kanji's going to be returning in the ring, and speaking for myself, like really looking forward to seeing you back in the ring.
Thank you.
And I don't want to get into, well, we'll get into it now actually. You had your WWE tryout, and so in the UK you've done fantastic things, whether that was being Defiant Women's Champion, you've been the Queen of Southside as well, and then you've had that WWE tryout. So I want to talk about that. What was your experience like from them first contacting you to say we want you part of the tryout, and what was that day like?
Well, I got an email, and it came really late. I was in bed. I think it came about maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's a nightmare because the adrenaline had just kicked in.
Yeah, so I was asleep, and then I must have woken up. I obviously woke up from my sleep, and I just looked at my phone, and there was an email there. and I just read the first line. I didn't unlock my phone. I just read the first line, and then from then I didn't sleep that whole night. I was just lying in bed like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, is this real? And I just not one minute of sleep that night. And I woke up and I was just thinking, how am I going to tell my mum? How do I word this? And I thought, oh, I planned it all out. I was like, I'll wait till I have breakfast, wait till she has breakfast. So eventually in the morning, I told my mum, and it was just an insane feeling. I felt like crying. It was such a huge thing and a huge moment for me. And then step by step, I was able to tell certain other people because I didn't want the word getting out to everybody.
Yeah.
So I step by step, I told the most I prioritized people who I think should know first. So yeah, that was a huge thing for me there. Just to even get that opportunity, just to be asked, really, that was incredible. Yeah.
So what was it like day one of that tryout, heading to London? What was that like?
I was so nervous. But there was a part of me that was relaxed and calm because I knew a few others who were going to be there as well. So I was in my head, I just tried to calm myself down and relax myself and say, we're all in the same position. We've all been asked for a reason. So I've just got to go and show them my best. But I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to show them my best, but I also need to have fun and enjoy myself so they can see me and not just this figure who is desperate for this big break, I guess. So that was my mindset, really. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like in comparison to like the other training you've done then? Because there's like training at these different schools, and then there's that WWE level of professional athlete. What was that transition like, and how did you adapt to that?
I think as soon as you walk into the building and you see the facility, instantly you just know you have to be professional. There's no talking over trainers. There's no walking away when a trainer is talking, or even when one of your peers is talking, you stand there and you listen. You know, there's no fiddling with your fingers or rocking side to side. You just got that mindset. You have to be professional just from your environment. That's it. Never mind the trainer who is there. And we'll be in it was William Regal who was leading the tryout. So whenever he was there, you felt his presence there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you the biggest thing that I think I felt I had to do was be respectful and be professional. But a lot of the time was more just focused on fitness and the basics of wrestling. So your rolls, your bumping, your running the ropes, and your professionalism, you know, turning up on time and being able to listen for long periods of time and take on feedback and learn from it. And I think that's kind of what they wanted to see. And being able to support your peers. I think that was one of the biggest things because it was the first all female tryout. So I think as a group of women, we was so desperate to support each other and push each other to make sure we all do our best together. And I really felt that energy between us. Definitely, it was an amazing environment we created.
Yeah, I think that like the vibe you mentioned as well, that resonated on the photos from the tryout as well. You can see like British wrestling, it's somewhat of a family, especially with how close certain people do get. So it's good that it was that to be part of that first all women's tryout. Essentially, it's history, and you made the good impression. You'd been put onto the actual NXT UK show. You'd been in the number one contenders battle royal.
Yeah.
So what was that like when they told you, hey, like, want to be on TV?
I I was like I have no words for it really. I didn't know how to take it because it was. I think for the whole experience of being at the tryout, I was just so grateful just to be there. So I was content, you know. So whatever came after that, I felt that that was a bonus. So I was so content to be in that moment. I thought I've got this opportunity and this is mine. You know, I've earned this and I've been recognized for my work. So I'm super grateful just to be here. So I'm going to have fun and I'm going to learn as much as I can. And then whatever happens after, then I've earned that as well. And then I can focus on that when it comes. So when I was asked during the tryout that they want me to go off and invite me to Download Festival or to be a part of the Battle Royal, I was even more grateful then. And I felt more relaxed at the tryout because I thought, wow, like I've done good, you know,
Yeah.
I've been myself, I've had fun, I've learned in an insane amount. I've experienced something that I never thought I would. Almost like a dream has come true. And now, just from doing that, they want me to go off and achieve something else, something bigger. So I was just almost overwhelmed with all these opportunities flying at me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you sat down with your granddad and watched the Battle Royal back? Or the Gauntlet
No,
back?
I haven't. No, I should
No?
actually to see so he can see me on the WWE stage.
Yeah. No, that's one of your goals then. In your goal in wrestling, you need to sit down and watch that with your granddad.
Yeah.
So obviously with NXT UK coming back as well, that's got to be the goal. From your passion, that's so clear from this chat right now. Is WWE your ultimate goal?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. Um, I think quite a few people from I get kind of this vibe that people don't really, or they try stay away from almost saying that their goal is to be signed or their
Yeah.
goal is to, you know, be on the big stage or something like that. Just maybe if because if it doesn't happen, then they may feel embarrassed. I don't know, but I don't think there's any shame in saying, you know, I would love to be signed by any NXT, WWE, AEW. You know, I think it's something special to be able to turn around and say this is a goal for me and be specific with that goal,
Yeah.
because then you're working towards something. And I think if I was to say a huge goal of mine is to be signed by NXT and to be able to work and experience opportunities with the NXT UK roster, I think it only brings an appreciation to those who are signed. You know, it makes them feel like, look what they've achieved. They've made it.
Yeah.
You know, they're in a position where we are fighting to be as well, to be just within them. So I think it's an acknowledgement to everybody, really, if you do specify on your goals.
Yeah, I think it's a great mindset to have, and it does give you that definitive thing. That's what I want to obtain. And if you're not setting those clear goals, then what path are you actually going to take, and
Yeah.
are you going to have that motivation? But aside from getting signed by one of the TV companies, is there any other goals like traveling in wrestling? Is there anywhere you want to go, maybe train or wrestle more predominantly than other countries?
Yeah, I really, really want to wrestle in Japan. I really want to go over to Japan and experience their disciplines in wrestling and training. I also really want to go over to India and wrestle in
Yeah.
India and see what it's like over there. Just because my family is from over there as well, I think that'll be a huge thing. And I think my grandparents will be incredibly proud to say that, oh, their granddaughter has gone over to India to wrestle. Especially because it's that side of the family who was so into wrestling too.
Yeah.
For me to be able to go over there and wrestle there, I think that'll be something that, you know, they'll be super proud of. And I really want to experience being over in India because I've never been. and I've always wanted to go. So I'd love to go over to India and wrestle there too.
Oh, that'd be a great experience for you. So it's Wrestle Carnival, it's beyond the canvas. So we mentioned it earlier. You are the first competitor to be announced in the Ringmasters Challenge. And that match, in fact, is going to be the main event of the debut show.
Yeah.
Pressure. How do you feel about that?
I'm so excited. So excited. I've got like visions in my head of what's going to happen. For some reason, what happens with me is I get really creative really late at night. So it'll be like I'll be in bed at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and my mind just starts going crazy and starts thinking of ideas and coming up with cool moves that I want to do. So it'll be like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be having these visions of what I'm going to do on the show. So I'm constantly thinking, because I reckon this might be my first match back. So I'm expecting big from myself. So I'm just so excited to put on a good showing for me, a good showing for my competitor, and a good showing for all the fans that are going to be there.
Yeah, it truly is going to be a special moment. And for those of you that are listening or watching and you're not too sure what the Ringmasters Challenge is, so first off, the rules, it's going to be a 60-minute time limit. We've got 2 out of 3 falls, 2 rope breaks permitted per competitor. So failure to adhere to the referee's orders may result in losing a rope break. Once you've used or lost your rope break, then these will no longer be in use. So for that part of the rule alone, how do you feel you're going to adapt to that? Where, again, if you've used your 2 rope breaks and somebody's got you in that submission, you're going to have to try and think of different ways to get out of that because that rope's not going to help.
That's it, yeah. I think stepping into the match, I think it's the rules. It's the rules and the discipline that I have to be the key focus for me and for my competitor and the other competitors that will compete for it too. I think it's definitely the rules, because I don't think there's any other matches that have had such rules to say it's 2 out of 3 falls. It's a 60-minute time limit. 20 seconds is it a 20-second count as well?
We've got a 20-second count outside, and the referees say is final.
Yeah.
Failure to comply with the rules may result in losing a rope break or disqualification. So again, that's the fact that you can lose one of the rope breaks just from maybe stomping a mud hole in somebody that's in the corner for too long and not listening to the referee. So it does make you, again, pressure. First match back, going to be so tactical, something so different. But what's your ultimate thoughts on the concept?
I find it really exciting because I think I could walk in and with someone who's been wrestling for say 10 years, and that's me who's been doing it for I've been including this non-wrestling year, it would be 3 years.
Yeah.
So I could step in there with someone who's a 10-year vet, and I'm here with my 3-year experience. So, I mean, that could show, because someone who's been wrestling for 10 years, it could be easier for them to wrestle this match with all these rules in their mind because they're so experienced and they know how to adapt easily. Whereas me, I think it will be a lot harder and mistakes could be made easily. So I think that's what makes it so interesting as well. Even as for me, if whatever happens for this match, watching the other matches from the other people who are competing for the Ringmaster, it'll be really interesting for me to watch to see how they adapt their focus and their intentions to win and how they go almost like a game plan, I think it's super interesting.
Now, it is a exciting concept, which I think for a lot of like pure wrestling fans, they're going to really, really enjoy this. And again, the winner will leave the match known as the Ringmaster, along with a Wrestle Carnival trophy. So again, fair share back. We could see the ringmaster Kanji holding the trophy. What's your thoughts on that new nickname?
The Ringmaster. I love it, because when it came up, the Ringmaster, I was thinking, oh, that would be so cool, just like almost like a gimmick name, the Ringmaster. I thought how that would be so cool just to carry that title there, you know. So if I win, I'm gonna juice that name.
Take it everywhere with you.
Everywhere. I'll change my Facebook name.
I'm gonna hold you to that one. But how does it feel that, again, Gary and Canival, it could be it's so easy for companies to maybe just stick to the guys. And when I think a lot of people saw Ringmasters, they assumed it's going to be for the men. And Gary's like, nope, this is what's happening. And he's giving, and rightly so, women the platform to prove they're just as good, if not better, than the male counterparts.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you to be joining and going to be, again, you're the first person announced, so you're going to be a vital part of this company going forward, I can imagine. And they're so strongly behind women's wrestling.
Yeah. I think one of the huge things that, since I've been involved in the independent scene, I think equal opportunities has almost always been an utmost focus. I've felt it anyway. There's not many times I felt at all. There's not many times I felt that being a woman in wrestling is a negative thing, or it could bring you almost like you're lower on a platform. There's not many times at all, and that's come from not only promoters but the wrestlers we work with.
Yeah.
So the men and the women, even just trainers as well and trainees, you know, everyone around you. I think everyone sees you for just being a talent, whether you're female or whether you're male. You're seen and represented as a talent. I think when it comes to being a female has its as not a proper wrestler, or you have a women's style wrestling. I think that's, people are really trying to come out of that, because we know it's almost like it's olden times talk.
Yeah.
We've moved on from that so much. So I think it's definitely time that promotions like Wrestle Carnival are really pushing and representing women's wrestling as wrestling, and we deserve equal opportunities just as much as the next person does. So it makes me so proud to be a part of Wrestle Carnival for that reason, because of their representation for women's wrestling. And it's the fact that Gary has pushed forward and made the first competitor of the Ringmaster announce a female. So I think that tells you a lot of what the representation and what the ethics and the morals of the promotion itself is and will be. So I think it's definitely one promotion that a lot of people should be supporting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We did have another question as well from Ashley Clements on Twitter as well. Who are you most looking forward to going up against in the Ringmaster Challenge? So if you could choose anybody for that debut show to be standing across, just to put you on like the spot, like who do you want to work this style match with?
Oh, that's tough. Because there's so many. There's so many. I think what I will say is, I remember the first person, when I was first asked on the independent scene who I want to wrestle, if I could wrestle anyone on a show, who would it be? One promoter asked me that for the first time, and I answered with Casey Owens.
Okay.
So, and I still have never wrestled her. So Casey Owens is someone that I really want to wrestle. So whether she comes up in the matchup, then I'll be absolutely thrilled to wrestle her and her down the line anywhere. But I'll be excited to wrestle Casey Owens. But I think right now there's so many girls that are really, really succeeding and achieving big, that I think we could put an exciting match on. Names like Giselle, Danny Luna, so many. There's so many names out there. Just I'd love to wrestle anybody. Just anybody step up. Anybody.
So before we let you go then, so if people are listening to this and they're wanting to know more, they're wanting to see more of your stuff, what matches would you recommend them to go check out of yours?
Of mine?
Yeah, when you think back of the matches you've had, what stands out to be like, I'm proud of that one?
I would say my series at Wrestling Resurgence with Charlie Evans.
Yeah.
So my 2 out of 3 falls there with her, and also the Iron Woman match. I would also say my singles match with Ginny from Eve. That's one of my favourite matches I've had as well. So I'll say those are my top 3 matches, definitely.
Especially the Charlie Evans one, the 30-minute Iron Woman match. Do you think that's going to prepare you for the Ringmasters challenge then? Because, like we said, you could go that 60-minute time limit. Like, do you think that's going to? Do you enjoy working those long distance matches?
Yeah, I think it's all about technique with those sort of matches. With long matches, I do think it's about technique and reserving your energy.
Yeah.
And obviously we had the Iron Woman match, which is get as many falls as you can. Get as long as you've got enough falls above your opponent, then you've won. So I think it's that, and it's also that pressure, working with that pressure. If they've got more falls than you, then you've got to, work through your pressure so you don't mess it up by rushing, things like that. But also just, reserving your energy. And then I've also got the 2 out of 3 falls match in my little toolbox too to go into the match with. So I think I've had opportunities that will help me with this match along the way. It's just hoping that the pressure of the show and the audience don't pull me out of focus, really.
Now, I'm sure the audience will build you up for that. And again, that is going to be the 31st of January 2021. And I believe the location announcement hasn't been put out yet, but from social media, it seems on the 20th of September, we'll know where that match will be happening and where Kanji, I'll be optimistic, will be crowned ringmaster. So where can everybody find you on social media? Where can they support you and follow your journey?
So I am on Twitter. My Twitter name is @KanjiDuku. I'm also on Instagram @Kanji_Duku. And that's Duku, Duku. So find me and talk to me.
And that was episode 2 of Wrestle Carnival's Beyond the Canvas and my interview with Kanji, the first name to be announced for the Ringmasters Challenger. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any future content, including episode 3 that will feature Chris Ridgway, who's been announced to be an in-ring talent, part of the creative team and a producer at Wrestle Carnival. So hit subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Also, make sure you're following Wrestle Carnival on all social media platforms. Wrestle Carnival on Facebook, Instagram, and at Wrestle Carnival on Twitter to make sure you're up to date with the latest news and announcements coming forward of the plans for Wrestle Carnival in 2021, including the first location announcement will be dropping on the 20th of September. The date we already know, 31st of January 2021. I've been Kurt Johansson. Thank you for watching.